Hey, what is going on, guys? This is the bogey-free podcast for the U.S. Open, and no, the B does not stand for burgers. I am your co-host, Evan Shaney, with my co-host, Matt Jones, Jimmy, and today we have Roger Casey from Fire DFS. How you doing today, Roger?
What's up? Thank you guys for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
You're a U.S. Open guy. We had to have you back on again like last year.
Yeah.
I love it. Awesome. Well, I can't think of a better tournament to be in my guest week. So I'm very happy to be here. Appreciate you guys.
And we also I'm fully aware as a loyal listener to you that there are not many tournaments that you do like. So I know that you like this one. So I figured I'd have you on for this.
Yeah, this is definitely one of the few that I do actually like. There's a lot of garbage on the PGA Tour, but this is a good one.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, Matt, take a few seconds to shout out the Listener League winner from last week because I can't remember off the top of my head.
Oh yeah, it was. I talked to the guy on Twitter. It's coming up. Kyle, I want to say Tompkins RM44 took it down with a pretty solid lineup. And then Raj 102A. Interesting name.
He's a Fire DFS guy.
Yeah, he was. He just edged you out, actually, Raj.
I know. That's all right. We're keeping it in the family.
There you go. Yeah. So couple of good lines. The I don't know that there were. It's fucking 6s are so low this week. I don't even know if there was maybe one or two. I know
the winner. Guy that won had 6 of 6.
Yeah, and then I think everybody else had 5 or worse.
I had 3 missed cuts. That was my gem of the week.
Yeah, I had 4 of 6. I only ran one lineup last week. I had 4 of 6. Came in 5th in this and won all my cash games. I took a page out of Rogers' playbook and played like 80%, maybe even more than 80% cash, and it ended up working out. So I actually made money for not having a very good lineup. So it worked out.
I love it. Nice.
There you go. All right. Well, without further ado, let's just jump into this U.S. Open tournament here at Shinnecock. What a fun name to say. All right, Roger, we'll throw it to you first. Talk about the course for a second. You know, what stats you might be looking at to build a player pool this week.
So you know, it's a really interesting course for a major. Just really in general, it's got that kind of linksy look to it. You're not obviously there's one water hazard in the entire golf course, no trees basically. So it kind of makes you think a little bit. Aaron Hill's last year was a little bit like that, although the fairways were just absolutely massive, and they counted on wind to really have more of the teeth on that golf course. And then Oakmont year before was also, so we kind of had this theme of U.S. Open courses where we're not seeing as much trees in the way, which is kind of strange. You'd expect to see more of that. This course reminds me a little bit more of a Pinehurst number 2-ish layout. Now I don't know that we're going to see it play as brutally as number 2. You do have a little bit more room to work with, but I do think a lot of the same things that make this course difficult also make Pinehurst number 2 difficult. For example, I think the most distinguishing characteristic for this course for me was the green complexes. I immediately thought that was they look really, really challenging. I don't know if you saw some of the videos already that they've put out there with it, but it's really frustrating to watch a ball. So someone just drops like from the middle back of the green, roll literally off the green, coming vertically down. So that should tell you a lot right away, assuming they keep the green condition relatively the same. And it sounds like we're going to have pretty good weather. That's going to happen. It is a par 70, which is pretty rough at 7,440 yards. And a lot of that, as we should expect from a U.S. Open, is meat that you get on those par 4s. Big, ugly par 4s. 490, 500-yard beasts. And a lot of forced carries. That was another feature I noticed. They're not like brutal, like 300-yard forced carries, but we have some good 260, 270-yard forced carries, which could be a little bit tricky for some of the shorter hitters out there. But overall, I guess what I'm really looking for this week I think you're going to see a little bit of edge with longer hitters, not a huge edge, but this is going to come down to iron play more than anything else. The fairways don't look that daunting. What I think does look daunting and difficult are those approach shots into the green. So I'm going to be looking at guys who I think are reasonably long off the tee, maybe not crazy bomber long, but more importantly, guys who I think are going to be able to hold up good iron play, and if wind kicks up, it's going to get even more crazy. So,
okay, Jimmy, I'll throw it to you.
Yeah, I mean, I generally agree with all that. If you haven't already, you should definitely check out my my course preview video on fansharesports.com. I go over all my in-depth thoughts on the course, also cover some of the scoring aspects, but for the most part, it's a U.S. Open course. It's going to play like all the U.S. Open courses play, very close to par, very difficult, long par fours to the center of all of it. Pars are more important than birdies. It seems like I don't see the scoring getting below double digits here. I think a 7 under to a 10 under is where the winning score is going to be. The weather is going to play a huge factor, in my opinion. It is the only defense of this golf course. And it does look like the winds are starting to maybe pick up. I'm looking at Wind Finder right now. So weather, I think, is probably going to play a bigger factor as we roll a little bit closer to lock. So, but for my in-depth thoughts on the course, definitely check out my course preview video, and then also my article on PGA or on DFSreport.com should be dropping later tonight.
Okay, Matt, anything to add to that?
Not really. I mean, I'm going to be there on Friday. So if you're listening to this and you want to meet up, let me know. Hit me up on Twitter, and we'll chat and go watch JT for a little bit. That's who I'll be following probably with Papa J.
Papa J. Yeah, we got the Father's Day narrative like abound at this golf tournament, which you know sort of comes into play for a couple of guys. I've already heard it mentioned around the industry, but it is I don't know. I'm sure that it comes into play mentally for some of these guys.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So on that note, we'll go to our 10K and up golfers. Matt, I'll give it to you first. Who are you liking in this 10K range? There are 6 golfers here this week. I think you have your eyes set on one in particular, but give us your thoughts.
I mean, it's got to be Justin Thomas here. Like
wait, hold on. Justin what, Thomas?
Justin Lewis. Thomas.
There you go. I was waiting for that.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not going to sit here and tell you not to play. I mean, pretty much, I won't say don't play anybody in this range. I just am gravitating towards Justin Thomas. I will try my best to fit him in, which should be pretty easy based on how soft the pricing is this week. I'll probably have a smattering of DJ and Rory, but I tend not to pay all the way up for guys. And then I'm hoping that Spieth's ownership is a little bit lower. Despite the Ender curse, I think that I will definitely have a couple of shares of Spieth just to be on the safe side. But I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something. I don't know. Maybe Roger or Jimmy, you guys can tell me I'm crazy, but I can't really imagine having 0% of any of these guys if I'm building, say I'm going to build throw 50 lineups into something. I think you would be pretty stupid not to have at least one share of each of these guys because they all have a pretty decent chance at winning. Jimmy, what are you thinking here? Where are you going?
Similar. I mean, I guess I'm not quite as heavy on Justin Thomas as you are, but that's sort of your guy. Maybe not my guy as much. I made DJ my pick to win. I guess before he won this week for the Pat Mayo show. That doesn't change really. He's likely the most popular guy, and I see some real leverage opportunities up here for the guys in GPPs with Rory and with Spieth and really even with Day. And I actually kind of like Day as my probably number 2 guy here, just because I think Roger mentioned it early on, like even shots that hit this green are maybe not going to be staying on. And potentially that makes for his lack of approach recently maybe not as worrisome as it might otherwise be, especially with the shaved areas around the greens. where his just absolute fire short game and putting can kind of take over. Not to mention his just incredible track record at the U.S. Open and his seemingly Terminator-like drive this year to kind of get things done. I mean, he withdrew from that fever thing was a bunch of bullshit. Withdrawing from that pro-am. I mean, I don't want to play a 6.5 hour round of golf with a bunch of schmucks either, but you know, I'm sure he did it knowing with winning in mind, right? Like he wanted to win that golf tournament. He loves Columbus. Like Day, you know, it meant a lot to him. I mean, we saw some cracks in his game, but I think he gets up for this week. And I think maybe a lot of guys talk him down or they get concerned about his stats this week compared to, you know, how popular DJ is going to be and how popular, you know, JT. And then as you dip lower where the ownership starts to concentrate more, I think you might have a real opportunity for some leverage on a red hot Jason Day.
Yeah, so interesting. I definitely think that if I have to choose, and I am a huge advocate of narrowing it down. I mean, it's very easy to say that all these guys are really good, so you should have some of them, but you have to make hard choices. I mean, I'm a huge, when it comes to GPP especially, I'm a massive believer in the win everything or lose everything.
Yeah.
Right. There's no reason, especially when you're sticking to the kind of philosophy that we go by, which is maybe 20% of our spend each week. I'm okay with losing that. That's why it's only 20%. So I'm going to swing for the fences as hard as I fucking can. Right. I think Dustin Johnson is kind of the nuts at this golf course, just on principle. I mean, you saw what he did last week on a par 70. Or was it par 71? No, it's par 70 at St. Jude.
Yeah, par 70.
He tore that the fuck apart, and he only had 2 par 5s to work with on each round. I mean, that's really spectacular. If you go to, and one thing, a tip that I'll give to everyone on this pod, if you go to bluegolf.com and you look at Shinnecock Hills, they give you a really, really cool way of looking at the golf course to see what the yardages are. It's what a lot of the pros use for qualifiers before they go out. It's super, super handy, and it gives, you can actually click like point A, point B, and it's kind of a Google Maps style view. But if you look at some of the drives that these guys have to hit in order to be in position and not hitting, you know, 5-iron into the friggin' green every time, which is going to be a really, really hard thing to do if you want to hold these greens, given how fast they are. And we're not looking at a whole lot of rainfall here. I mean, we had a 50% chance on Wednesday, so that could soften it up slightly, but it's certainly not going to be enough to make much of a difference between now and then. Furthermore, the green, it's going to be in the 70s, and the temperatures have been very nice, so that's prime for bent grass. So they're going to have this thing rolling quick. Having that length advantage that DJ has, being able to keep it straight, you know, where a guy is going to be hitting 280, 290, and DJ will be there 310, 320, depending on the amount of roll, is going to be a massive factor on these par fours. That just helps so much in being able to mitigate bogey possibility, which when you're having to get up and down over and over again, it's just exhausting. I think that's what happens to a lot of these guys who are mental midgets and don't play well at U.S. Opens. I mean, just look at what Bubba Watson has done in his career at the U.S. Open. It's just bad. So I'd say Dustin Johnson's probably my guy up here. The other guy, I do like the Jason Day call quite a bit. I think he's playing at a really high level right now, and if he can keep his driver under control, I mean, we've seen him dominate golf courses this year that require the kind of length that he has, e.g. Torrey Pines, where he shipped it at 10 under. I think that the 7 to 10 under call is, I mean, depending on the amount of wind we get, is possible. I'd be kind of disappointed to see a U.S. Open one with that score, to be honest with you. I like my U.S. Opens closer to even par, but it just is what it is when you're talking about a course like this. But I like Jason Day. If I'm going to invest in one of these guys, I think it's going to be one or the other. And to answer your question, Matt, I do think in general, you probably want to big buy one of these guys. You just have so many options in the 7K range, especially the low mid 7K range, that could be very, very strong plays, that it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to not at least buy one of these guys. Arguing the differences between them is a lot more difficult. I mean, Justin Thomas is an animal. Ricky Fowler can be an animal. Jordan Spieth, I don't really understand why he's 10-8 over Jason Day at the way he's playing right now. But hey, that it just is what it is when you got a guy who's played this well at U.S. Opens. So there's good arguments to be made for all of them. I like DJ. I like Day. Either way, no matter what you do, buy one of them big or two of them big if you must, and then go from there.
Oh, make no mistake. I'm definitely going like 70% JT. Like,
go 100. Put your nuts on the table, baby. Come on.
Now I have a couple hundreds in the cheap guys. Don't worry. We'll get there. The nuts are coming out eventually. It's fine.
I like it. There you go.
Good Lord. All right, we'll move down to the 9K range here. 4 guys here? Thoughts on any of them? I mean, I guess I would assume Rahm would be the best guy here, but who am I to say?
I definitely disagree with that. I would say Justin Rose has been by far the most proven guy in this range, and just versatility. I mean, unbelievable this year so far. I mean, you can look at the DK game log for evidence. I mean, he hasn't missed a cut, and he has 10 top 10s in 15 events. I mean, that's all right. Yeah. You have to be doing something right to be able to do that. And furthermore, just in general, what that shows is that he doesn't really give a shit what the course is like, right? I mean, he's had a couple meh finishes at like Houston and Mexico. Otherwise, he's just been straight fire everywhere he's gone. I just think he's a machine. The reason I don't like Rahm, and believe me, as a John Rahm fanboy, as we all know, John Rahm is really, really effective when there's a lot of birdies to be made. And if you look back at where he's performed well, it's almost always at tracks where his length comes in an advantage, yes, but more importantly, he can score. So par 72 tracks with, 4 par 5s and a lot of birdies. He's the kind of guy who's going to light up a course and shoot 15, 16 under. He doesn't do a lot of damage on these lower scoring tracks. He's just never been a very good grinder. It's not his thing. You watched it last year at the US Open, just totally punted it at Aaron Hills. He last year Memorial played a lot harder than it did this year. He punted that too. He's just been very lackluster. I've yet to see him grind out a really, really tough course and show up and win. And especially under tough conditions, I really don't like him. Although I will say that as much as I love Justin Rose, I really, really like Tiger Woods. I mean, this guy last week, if he could have putt just a little bit, he lapped the field tee to green. And in a week where iron play is so important, I mean, how could you argue with that? If he can keep it just decently between the uprights and the fairways, which are reasonably wide, his iron game is better than anyone in the field by a mile. So I think he's a great play this week.
Yeah, he gained over 11 strokes on approach and lost 7 on the green.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. The split is insane there. He should have won that tournament by a mile. Really. Yeah.
Jimmy, what are you thinking in the 9Ks there, James?
I don't know. I guess I've sort of kind of been skipping this range a little bit as I built. Brooks is the guy I've kind of like gravitated towards, and I've sort of grabbed like Brooks decky stacks, and maybe not so much of the other guys. I don't dislike any of them. I guess one of the things that I like about Brooks, I think some people are. I think like the everyone's hesitant on repeat winners, and I generally am as well. And I mean, there's been so few of them. But this course sets up well for Brooks. His game is like mini DJ. He's like Rahm, only he's won and he's cheaper and he's playing better. So I'm not really sure if I want to like pay the extra $500 for Rahm when I could just roster Brooks. I guess that's kind of where my thought process has been. And I don't know, man. I love Tiger Woods. I just am not sure that, the stars all align for him this week on a really difficult golf course. I know the argument and everything is going to be super popular and I'll have some exposure. I'm just not like super fired up to get 100% Tiger. I'll just probably be a little underweight to the field and be on my way. I don't know. I'm just, again, it's hard for me to roster Tiger with the masses at 9,200 when I'm only playing GPPs and I'm swinging for the fences. And if it goes bad for Tiger, it could go really bad for him. Conversely, if it goes really well for him, I'm not sure that he wins anyway. Puts a top 5 or a top 10 together, sure. But I don't know. I guess I'm just going to take my chances on having underexposure to Tiger Woods this week.
Okay. I don't know. Any other thoughts here in this 9K range?
Matt, who do you like?
Yeah.
Shit, Evan, come on,
Oh
man.
yeah. Jeez.
Leave me out.
Any other thoughts from someone out there?
Yeah. No, I thought I heard him already too. It was like,
Nah,
that feels weird.
I jumped in on the Tiger thing because I love me some Tiger, but I'll probably do my typical like Tiger thing and throw some money on like my bookie for him and not play him on DraftKings. That's sort of been my strategy in general with him this year. But I fully agree with Rose. Like Rose has just sort of been, I don't know. I feel like even reasonably casual golf fans like don't understand at all how good of a season Rose is putting together.
Yep.
So hopefully that means that he goes a little bit under-owned in like some of these bigger tournaments since it's a major. So I'll definitely have some Rose. I would like to believe that Rahm could put it together, but he just seems like he's missing something every time I see him recently. Like it's something goes sideways and it doesn't quite work out for him. And I could see him just I mean, this is a narrative, but I could see him completely losing his fucking shit when like the ball rolls off the green for the 7th time that day.
Yeah,
like,
there it is, right?
Yeah, like I think, you know, that the next time it's back here and whatever it is, it's going to be like 2027. Maybe he'll take it down when he's a little bit more mature. But I'd rather take a shot on Rose at this price up here and put an outright on Tiger and call it a day. There's just so many good golfers that like as we keep going down, there's so many guys I want to roster. Like it's hard to. Yeah. I do find myself, like Jimmy said, sort of skipping over this range a little bit because you're just drawn to like the top guys and then like the guys who are good value down below, and it's easy to sort of skip them.
So here's an interesting exercise in thought, though, and it's part of the reason why I think DraftKings pricing algorithm, although it has been better because they have not been making it jokey as much lately, which is great. One thing I would say is that, for example, do you think, for example, it is that much more likely that Justin Thomas or Rory McIlroy win this golf tournament than Justin Rose for 1,000 or 1,500 or 1,600 less? And in my humble opinion, the answer to that is just absolutely not. There's no good justifiable argument that says that Justin Rose is 1,000 or 1,100 or 1,600 worse of a golfer than Justin Thomas and Rory McIlroy. It's not a defensible point. So it's almost like I have to play Justin Rose because logically speaking, I can't even make myself believe that. You know what I mean?
According to the FanShare or the Fantasy National Simulator, in win percentages over 10,000 tries at this tournament, DJ would be the number 1 and Rose would be behind him by 1.2%. What? Yeah,
right.
So like just to support your argument or to like give some, you know, some data behind your point there, like.
You there? I can't hear you.
Yeah, cut out for a bit.
Yeah, no, that was it. I was just trying to give you there's a 1.2 or 1.1% chance difference in the winning odds or the win percent over 10,000 tries between the number 1 golfer and Justin Rose.
Yeah, it's just I don't really understand that. I think it's just nuts. But that's the kind of way I look at the 9K range, because that's where I've been honestly making a lot of my money this season is on that 9K range over and over again. Every time you hear my pod, we cover 9K up to the top, right? And the first golfer out of my mouth is almost always someone in the low 9K range because it's just ridiculous how good the value is compared to paying up. So really, I mean, you could make an interesting argument this week to go huge buys on Rose and Tiger and then just live in the 8K, 7K range, and there would be nothing wrong with that at all, in my humble opinion. But, you know.
Yeah, and I think we see that especially in the stronger fields, right? Like when there's actually good golfers like throughout the field, it definitely is true that these 9K guys are not that far off odds-wise from performing just as well as the guys at the top.
For what it's worth, I ran an optimal based on simulations, and it stacks Rose and Rahm. But it doesn't get below 6,900.
Hmm.
All right. That's good, I guess. Yeah, that simulator that was pretty. I don't. Oh, my head's up my own ass right now. Sometimes
He's in CFL depth charts right now. He's not he's
Oh my
Kevin's
God.
not with us.
no. Some of the weirdest I'm getting some of the weirdest DMs right now. I hate myself. I should have never.
You're dealing
started
with
a
French
website.
Canadians.
That's the thing too. Like I don't even
Oui, oui,
understand.
Okay.
Oh, speaking of Canadians,
Oh,
I'm gonna
boy.
go on a
Oh,
slight
boy.
rant here. Tim Anderson, my man, good guy, but he's talking about all these great sports coming up. You know, in the next, the World Cup, U.S. Open, all that jazz. But as a Canadian, he didn't even mention CFL.
Because maybe Canadians don't actually like the CFL.
Or maybe he
How does
doesn't
it
want to
exist?
curse it.
That's true. I like Matt's theory better because the CFL can't get Ander cursed if it's not in his mouth.
Well, I
There
mean,
you
like
go.
Pat Mayo's a Canadian, and I don't think
That's
he's
true.
ever mentioned the CFL.
Who knows?
Same with Jeff Feinberg,
That's true. It's very true.
Paul Shaughnessy.
All right. Anyway, we'll get back to golf because I know that's what you cool cats are here for. So we will jump down to our 8K range. And Roger, I will throw it to you here.
Yeah, this is a really interesting range, and I think this is where people are going to kind of win and lose a lot of money, because there's a lot of interesting options here. There's a lot of options that are they seem really good, but I just don't know. It's kind of the coin toss. I think the place we have to start here is with like the ultimate fucking homeboy with Paul Casey at 8,000. I mean, this guy. The fact that he is now down to 8,000 flat after the way he has played this season is utterly fucking crazy to me. I mean, the guy goes out and, I understand that Tiger Woods was right there at the Valspar. That's great. He won the Valspar. I mean, he won, and then he finished top 15 at Augusta when he was apparently kind of injured or something, and that was after he went 69-65 on the weekend. Just for fun. Missed the cut at Harbortown. I can live with that. And then he comes out, contends at Quail Hollow, and plays pretty solid at the BMW. I mean, what does this guy have to do to earn the respect of the DraftKings algorithm? Like, I don't understand. I mean, it's insanity to me. And not only that, but he's just so versatile. He doesn't have any weaknesses in his game. I mean, maybe his putter on occasion, but tee to green, he's like top 5 in the entire game right now. I have absolutely no complaints about what this guy's doing. I'm really interested in probably picking up a little Bryson DeChambeau. I will admit that I definitely got burned badly 2 weeks ago at Memorial by not playing him. I played Howell over him at the same price range, and that killed me. I mean, the DeChambeau chalk hit for the win, which is just brutal in cash. You can't do anything about that. I had 6 of 6 and didn't cash, so not much you can do. But kid's showing some poise. I guess my only question with him is, does he have the same poise on a grindy track that he does on a scoring track, which, I'm not totally sure about. He played really well at Quail, which is a positive sign. And Harbortown didn't play too hard this year, but yeah, he's shown some serious chops. I can't say no, but I do think he's an interesting play at the price. Last guy I'd mention here, who I think has been really impressive at courses when you would normally expect Henrik Stenson to be as good, is Henrik Stenson. He has been, like, for example, I basically told everyone just do not fucking touch him at Muirfield. Par 72, has never played well there, didn't play there for like 6-7 years, and then all of a sudden randomly shows up and he puts up at 13th. Now, granted, Muirfield played a lot easier than it normally does, which a 10 under score at Muirfield should not be getting you a T13. That should be almost winning. But he's been a lot more versatile than I would have expected him to be at courses like Augusta and Muirfield. So I think maybe he's figuring out how to make better use of his 3-wood and maybe driver occasionally. He's going to probably need it here. But he is such a poised golfer, has plenty of refinement. Obviously, a links-ish layout has suited him in the past. at the British and whatnot. I don't think you're going to see those kind of scores here, but he's resilient. If the winds kick up, I do think there's a good chance he plays well. So yeah, those are kind of some of the guys I'm roughly looking at right now.
Okay, Jimmy.
I mentioned Hideki sort of at the bottom of the 9K range there with Brooks. I think Hideki is, kind of turning a corner and makes an interesting play here. I'm not like huge on him. I just don't think he's going to be really heavily owned, and he has quite a bit of upside, especially with regard to scoring. I've considered Stenson. I'm just not quite there. He burned me really bad in 2016 at Oakmont. After he withdrew, and then went on to win the next week. It still hurts. But I actually, Sergio kind of popped up today in my news feed, and I clicked on the link to see why, and it's because he got a new caddy. I don't know what's up with that, but a little stroll down Narrative Street here. Sergio Garcia, excellent setup for a U.S. Open. Was there down the stretch at Oakmont 2016 with DJ. Was until he had a kid playing exceptional golf. Really don't know why things just really took a nosedive for him earlier this season. But switching it up with the new caddy is interesting to me. Will probably get me to take a share or so of him as a new papa winning on Father's Day. I could see, yeah, certainly the narrative is there for me. So interesting. Just like I've been sort of like wondering what's been happened to Sergio. I kind of pumped him up a little bit at the Players. Thought he'd kind of find his way on a course that was familiar to him, where he gained a lot of strokes. Didn't quite happen, but I don't know. I think it's really interesting. Like right in this range, I could see myself making a couple of lineups that just stack Sergio, Phil, and Patrick Reed all together. I think Phil is interesting. I probably will have very little of him, but I do think that he is playing really well and will probably make the cut this week and do what he normally does. Patrick Reed, oddly enough, and I'm not a Patrick Reed guy. I don't really like him. But that does not stand in the way of me making financial decisions. And this week, I think Patrick Reed could maybe make you some money. Yeah, I mean, is it likely that he goes and wins 2 majors back to back? No. But Patrick Reed has the 8th best scoring record or scoring average at the U.S. Open the last 5 years running. In the last 5 years, they've all been similar type of linksy style golf courses. Patrick Reed, despite his obvious disadvantage with length, his short game and his putting have carried him through the U.S. Opens, and he has the 5th most birdies per round in the last 5 years at U.S. Opens as well. So pretty interesting to me. Patrick Reed going to go low owned. I think he makes an interesting GPP pivot. Again, at 8,500, you don't need him to win, but if he plays the kind of golf he's been playing, I could see Patrick Reed, contending down the stretch or on the weekend and being in some high ranking GPP lineups this week. And then I agree 100% with Paul Casey, by the way. 8,000, I wrote him up. I'll have a ton of him. I'm not really sure what the deal is. Like, I guess it seems like a trap because it's $8,000, but I mean, I'm not really. I think it's just because it's a major and it's Paul Casey, and his win equity comparative to the guys above him is probably the reason he gets the discount from the books, and that's the reason he gets the discount in the DraftKings pricing. But at $8,000, I mean, I don't know if there's like a high enough ownership number that you consider like not playing Paul Casey at.
Well, I mean, if you consider like Bryson DeChambeau, I mean, the guy won one tournament. And like that's great and all, like I get it, and he's played pretty well. He's had some nice finishes, but if you compare that to the awesomeness that has been Paul Casey this entire season, it doesn't make any sense. But Bubba Watson has been playing better golf overall, but he certainly is not. He's been garbage at the U.S. Open. He's always been garbage at the U.S. Open. You get him for 200 more than Paul Casey. This doesn't add up. It doesn't make any sense. So I don't know. I have no idea, but who knows? I'll take it.
Yeah, I like Tommy at 81 too.
I like him too.
It's hard to root for a homeless guy, but like Tommy certainly has that it factor, like in these majors, that just, I don't know, man. He shows up in the big fields he shows up on the big stages. He has that game that, like, he's traveled all around the world. He's competed and won at every level on multiple continents, right? And I get the knock against Tommy that he's never won on this side of the pond. Same knock that, you'll hear about Louis. And, like, is their first win on this side of the pond going to be a major? And I mean, like, I get it, but I don't know, man. Tommy's got the game that it could be, I think. Now, is it going to happen? No, but will I be playing him? Yes.
That's fair. I will have 100% of Paul Casey. That's my nuts on the table. If you heard that, just
nice.
Yeah.
I was gonna go to the sports book because they just legalized in New Jersey. I was gonna go to the sports book and bet on Paul Casey, but now I'm kind of rethinking that.
You should absolutely do that.
No, I'm just kidding. He has really good odds.
What are they actually? Are they over 50?
Last I checked, I don't know like what the New Jersey books are going to be, but I know he's like 45-1 right now.
Bro, I bet you get him over 50 in a Jersey book. Take it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so definitely Paul Casey. I think I said it. I don't know if it was in my article or on the show earlier, but Fleetwood, I think, has like an unbelievable ceiling here. I think he can do quite a bit of damage. I feel like I'm just repeating what everybody else said so far. I like Bryson a little bit. I know that this is probably like the 7 millionth time that I've said this in my DFS career. I know I probably should play some of Henrik Stenson, but I don't think I've ever rostered him, and I don't think I'm going to because I just don't like him. Same thing for Reed. I'll have a little bit of Phil, and I think you could do a hell of a lot worse than Grace if you're just looking for sort of like a made cut, sort of lock it in, hope for the best sort of play, like low volatility, but a decent floor from Grace for me this week. So
got you some happy factor right there with that one too. He's a new daddy.
There you go. And I'm only a couple months away. We're ticking down here. So
right, man.
I got to get one of these GPPs eventually.
We need to jot down your pick to win. You could have like pre-nappy factor. Matt Jones.
Don't worry, we're getting to my pick. Don't worry.
Yeah, I already know who your pick to win is.
Oh yeah.
Roger's gonna start throwing things at me when I say
Oh boy.
Well, if your pick to win wasn't in the top 12 guys, Roger's already angry at you.
I tweeted this out before. I went for the glory play on Pat Mayo, and of course fucking Mike Leone like took it, like he was on the show and said it like right before they played mine. I was like, hopefully that's a good sign that I'm not a complete fucking fish, because Mike's pretty sharp, but I think I'm a moron. So it could go either way there.
Who's your pick to win?
It's Tony. Come on.
Oh, Tony Finau.
I love me some Tony. I talked to him about last week. I told him miss the cut just a little bit, get the ownership down a smidge, and I think we're all systems go.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So I told you last week, if Tony misses the cut, that I'm going to play him at the U.S. Open. But if he made the cut and played well, I wasn't going to play him here. So got to play him.
There you go. Speaking of caddy, I mean, I guess we're just segueing into the 7K. Yeah. Speaking of caddy changes, it looks like I saw somewhere that Adam Scott is using a local caddy this week.
Really?
Yeah. So
interesting.
For whatever that's worth, that was what I heard. I'll try to find it so I know that it's like a verified thing, but I'm 99% sure that was a thing that was going around before.
I guess I'm curious. Like, so I guess a little question onto that. Like, so as a guy like Adam Scott, I mean, he's just good enough that he doesn't need a caddy like for his game. He just needs a caddy for the course. Like, right? I mean, and probably a lot of these guys that are veterans have been around. Like, their caddy is not like coaching them up on other aspects of the game other than like, here's the yardage. Which club do you want? Like, I don't know. I guess I can totally see Adam Scott just be like, whatever, bro. I got this.
Yeah.
Just, the course, read, tell me the course knowledge and I'll just play my game. I don't know. Advantage, disadvantage.
I mean, I guess I could see that going either way. I think a guy of his sort of stature is probably more of like a, I don't want to hurt my back carrying this bag, so can you just fucking do it for me sort of thing for the caddy. Like that's how I would approach it personally. I'd just be like, yeah, I don't feel like carrying this. So if you could grab that, that'd be great. I don't think he really needs a ton. I think he just needs them to change the rule and anchor a putter, and he'll be fine again.
Oh yeah,
That's funny.
If that happens before Thursday, then we're good.
I would love to see the PGA change its rules on putting like 3 days before a major.
You know, the PGA does things so quickly. I'm sure it's realistic.
Dude, the only thing they do quickly is penalize Dustin Johnson at majors.
Still too soon.
Oh man, is there ever a good time though for that?
No, it's so sad.
Lee Westwood, nothing but class that day, baby. Lee Westwood, man. Fucking guy is great.
Goodness.
Anyway, moving down.
Yeah. Jimmy, what are your thoughts on the 7K range?
I think Adam Scott is really interesting. Did not know about the local caddy angle, but of course sets up well for him. Has been playing great golf. These guys can turn it on. Do I expect him to be like top 10? No, but could he be in there in the top 25? Sure. I actually really do like Louis. I wrote him up this week. It seems like he's always the bridesmaid, never the bride. I think it sort of sets up a bit like St. Andrews-ish, and it's sort of a wider open, linksy type of course, obviously a lot more rough than St. Andrews, but I think it's wide enough and it looks similar enough that Louis might just be at home here. He's played really, really well this stateside this year. And I mean, at some point, like the universe has to like line up for him to get one. It seems I don't really like expect him to win, but I do think he'll probably be a nice low owned GPP play here at 7,800 with quite a bit of upside in a major. And he's a proven guy as well.
Okay, Roger.
This is a really cool range. So I think the obvious place I gravitate because I'm me is Matt Kuchar.
Oh yeah,
classic Kuch. Possibly one of the only golfers left on tour where distance just doesn't seem to matter. You know, it really is. It's remarkable how well this guy has managed to just figure out a way around every golf course. I mean, you used to have a bunch of guys who were like that, like Zach Johnson, Kevin Na, Steve Stricker, Jim Furyk, and some of those guys are still around and can occasionally show up, but no one has just kept it going over and over and over again like Matt Kuchar. He's unique, and I love the death. I think he's just such a solid play at that price. It'd be very hard to figure out a way to not play him for me. Mark Leishman is also someone I think has just been an overall stud. Looked a little shaky there at Memorial, but one thing to remember is that he took a nice little snowman on the 18th because I think he was just sick of his shit. I guess you could technically go back on Shot Tracker and take a look at that if you really want to see what kind of gangsta shit he pulled. But Leish tends to be a good grinder if conditions do get tough. I like the way he tends to push through it. Has a very good mental game. He's shown that playing well at the British Open before, played great at the Arnold Palmer, not this last year, but the year before, in very tough conditions. Overall, I mean, if he's got his tee to green game going, he's an animal. And along that same line, Patrick Cantlay, who I've kind of taken to calling sort of mini Paul Casey. They're basically like an identical golfer. It's just Patrick Cantlay is younger and still has a little bit more to gather in the consistency side of things, but otherwise they're basically the same golfer. They hit it both about 295, 300-ish, right in there. They are outstanding tee to green, excellent all-around golfers. They just go putting retarded occasionally, but otherwise, you basically get a 300 discount Paul Casey at Cantlay, so I can't see any reason why I wouldn't want to play him. He's been good at. He's been playing for the first time at so many events this year, and it just hasn't mattered. Where it's been. He's just been able to get around. I mean, he's had a couple blips with Augusta and the weird one with Fort Worth at Colonial, but otherwise played awesome last week or 2 weeks ago at Muirfield, and probably should have won had he not gone like full retard there at the end. But I think he's just a great play overall.
Yeah, I think I mean, as far as like spiking and strokes gained approach, like we were saying how amazing Tiger was with 11 strokes gained on approach, and Cantlay was over 10 on at Memorial as well. So I'm fully in on Cantlay, fully in on Kuchar. I will have 99% Finau because he's going to win. Yeah. I mean, this is where I start to narrow myself down and sort of stick with like those guys in the top half. And then as could we just quickly discuss the whole fucking Jimmy Walker saga real quick for anybody who doesn't know?
Oh yeah,
that was the blockading. I mean, oh my God,
fucking idiot.
Yeah. So. Yeah, for anyone that doesn't know, Jimmy Walker said that he tweeted his first tweet. I think was reasonable. His second tweet is when he started stepping on his dick. If he didn't tweet out the second one, he'd have been all right. I think it was the second one that got him in trouble.
Yeah.
The first one I think was a legitimate sort of like, hey, bring attention to an issue on tour that regardless of your stance on it, I think he was fine. Just sort of like here's an issue, here's attention to it. And here's a position. The second tweet, maybe less advised.
Yeah, it was a little questionable. It was very interesting to see how that sort of went all over the place, though, and it definitely got around on Twitter. It was pretty entertaining.
I don't know, but I can guarantee you one thing: whoever's paired with him this week's like, fuck yeah.
Exactly.
Like, no, bro, just leave that thing right there. It's cool.
he'll be sprinting to mark his ball this week after that shit.
You're probably right, but yeah, I'm sure it's unfortunate.
I'll keep an eye on him. I'll get some periscopes going on Friday to see if he leaves his ball.
Time is 40-yard dash. Let us know.
Oh, that would be great. It's gonna live stream of him just running.
Oh, that's an underrated part of US Opens as well. Like running up to mark your ball when you think it may roll back is definitely a thing during the Open, and it's definitely entertaining.
It was a thing here in 2004 for sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's definitely entertaining.
I got a couple of guys in the $7,000 range I do want to touch on. I agree with you on Cantlay. Leishman, I'm a fan of as well. Might have a share or two of him. Keegan Bradley is really interesting to me. Likes playing golf in this part of the country. Likes POA. I say likes POA like he doesn't like to putt anything ideally, but if he has to putt, he's not terrible on POA.
Don't worry, I'm gonna cut all this out because you're talking about Keegan. So
yeah,
you could say all you want. It doesn't matter.
That's all right. I secretly muted your Tony Finau love fest.
I'll take him over fucking Keegan any day of the week.
Okay, I'll put a $5 bet that Keegan places, not outscores, but outplaces Tony Finau.
No.
Oh, you're scared now that Tony Finau. Oh, he was gonna win. Spot. He was gonna win 5 minutes ago.
It's now a DraftKings spot.
Hey Matt. Keegan Bradley. Hey Matt. I'll take that bet too. I actually like Keegan this week.
Yeah.
No, it's the DraftKings show.
Wait for it. Keegan Bradley's what? Oh my God, he's won a U.S. Open before. Crazy. It's almost like he hits it long and straight like you're supposed to at U.S. Opens.
Yeah, I mean, that's what this course is all about, and he's so good at that.
And his putter has been not nearly as bad as it has been, right? Like we saw Webb do it at a prestigious course all through ball striking, and his putter was just not as bad as it has been previous years. Keegan is sort of like on the same track. His ball striking has never left him. His putter has just improved. Again, do I think he's going to win? No. But at $7,600, I think he has a game that is on paper tailor-made for what this golf course forces you to do. And it is, the tournament's not going to run away from him, I don't believe. So I do really enjoy, I hope I enjoy rostering Tony Finau. Oh man, what a Freudian slip that was. God damn it. Keegan Bradley, Matt, I hate you. But the other guy in the $7,400 range that I wrote up that I like as well is Matt Fitzpatrick. Really kind of under the radar form right now for him, playing pretty consistent golf. Flashed really well at Wentworth a couple weeks ago at a big event for the European guys. And he has, again, under the radar U.S. Open form, 3 of 3 cuts, like 15th in DraftKings points scored last 5 years, and like 20th in scoring average in last 5 years. So again, Matt Fitzpatrick, he's not a really long hitter, but he is a very straight hitter, manages his golf ball, knows how to sort of be, kind of like a Matt Kuchar or something like that. Just, kind of down the middle, straight, doesn't put himself in tons of trouble, but is also not going to like score the lights out of anything. So, but he's also going to be like less than 5% owned. So I think Matt Fitzpatrick has some decent upside for a GPP play. I got one more guy, but see if anybody else has any thoughts there.
You going Brant this week?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Listen, I said in my course preview video, and I believe that the U.S. Open fits golfers that play well at U.S. Opens. I mean, they set up these courses similarly every single year, and there are golfers that can manage their way through 4 brutal days of par golf, and there are golfers that cannot. And in the last 5 years, Brant has made last 6 years, he's made 5 of his last 6 cuts, and of those made cuts, all of them are inside the top 15. 4 of them are inside the top 10. And they're all at golf courses that are, quote, too long for Brant, right? Too tough. You're right. He's not elite. Like, it's just all those things like every single year. And he still finds a way to put it together because he plays 4 really solid days of golf. He has not been in form early this year. Absolute cause for concern because he kind of just turned it on the last 2 weeks out, especially last week. So, is his game all the way back for U.S. Open? I'm not sure, but I want to be on the front side of it. Course history, or I say course history, event history. Brant's game suggests that he is going to make the cut, and it suggests that he has the ability to put up another top 10. The other reason I'm with Brant is it's POA, and Brant loves POA. He's one of the best POA putters on tour. So,
yeah. And then fucking Emiliano Grillo is $7,100.
Love it.
Is that a real thing?
He's an Argentinian, Chilean, or Argentinian Matthew Fitzpatrick.
But like that can't be. That's a mistake, though, right?
No, DraftKings doesn't make mistakes ever, never.
True, that is true. Thank you for bailing me out.
Don't blaspheme me on this podcast.
This is true. DraftKings does not make mistakes. Grillo is appropriately priced. Play him and count money. Yeah, like I'm gonna have 100% of him this week too.
Are you really?
Yes.
That's bold.
I will have 100% of him.
I mean,
what's his actually he must have been added to the field late. What's his history at the US Open?
He was added late because he just got in as like the last 6 he just got in. Let's see. He's only played it twice. Cut last year, T54 the year before. But he was not playing like he is right now.
Sure.
Last year or 2 years ago.
Sure.
He's 9th in DraftKings points over the past 24 rounds. Like, and he's free, like completely free.
Yeah, but I mean, how much does a missed cut cost?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, he might be free, but he's only going to cost you a missed cut. I don't think he makes the cut.
Why?
I don't know if Grillo has the big stage game.
Dude, he won at Bethpage Black almost. I mean,
I am clearly missing something in my research. I did not know he won at
close.
Bethpage Black.
Honestly, 2 years ago, he almost shipped Bethpage Black. I mean, he's got.
You're right. He did at Northern Trust.
Yeah, back then it was Barclays.
That was POA. His putting is what really concerns me on POA. His iron game is obviously like there, and he hits it like you say. He's Matthew Fitzpatrick. I worry about his putting on POA because he only likes bent.
Putting's. I mean, if the guy hits like a huge amount of greens in regulation, he can just putt as retardedly as he wants. I mean, this tournament is won by pars, not by birdies. So if
I know, and that's what I'm saying. It's like the 5 to 10 put par putts on POA that like worry me. That's why I don't know. I agree. It's probably a hot take, but I won't be rostering Grillo.
Well, I get that to an extent. The thing is that the ultimate goal is to not have your guys miss greens, right? I mean, that's really what it's all about, because missing greens at a course like this is what causes guys to end up losing and missing cuts. So that's why fundamentally it's so much more important to be targeting guys, at least in my opinion, tee to green, and just not worrying about their putter, because whatever they do on the greens, I mean, Tiger Woods like putted about as badly as you can putt Like he could, you really, it's really hard to putt that badly. I mean, you could probably line up us on a fucking green and give me a putter, and I might putt as good as Tiger Woods did last week or 2 weeks ago, right? I mean, it's possible, but he still, even putting that horribly, managed to remain pretty much in contention all the way up until kind of midway through Sunday. The point is that on a course like this is all tee to green. I mean, in the end, yeah, you're going to have to get up and down a lot. But frankly, if you're that screwed and you're getting up and down all the time, you're not going to be in the mix anyway, because your tee to green sucks and your iron game's all over the place. You have no business being there. I don't think we've had any indication that Grillo is going to have that problem. I mean, and this is like a variety of different golf courses that he's been that effective, and different kinds of golf courses at that. I just don't understand why you'd be concerned. I mean, the Honda is a great example of where you have to be such a precise ball striker, and par 70 course, and there's like water on like 14 of 18 holes at that, so you can't miss. I mean, this guy's just been a stud. I mean, I wasn't a believer really up until a few weeks ago, and then I'm just like, good God, I mean, he just can't fucking miss. So I think he's an awesome play. I'd have a really, really hard time failing him or fading him, I should say.
I guess I'm just invested in all my decisions already, and I don't know. I'm not sold on him, performing like super well. I get the argument. I just think that a T35 or a T40 finish isn't interesting to me to win a GPP, because I don't think he performs any better than that. Even if he gets to a top 25 at super high ownership, I could easily in GPPs make my money elsewhere. So I guess that's my take on it. But if he blows up in my face, it blows up in my face. I mean, there's tons of reasons to roster him, and you highlighted all of them. So
we'll who are in that sort of maybe they're a little bit higher or 100 or 200 lower? Who are you thinking if you're in this range then, Jimmy?
Shane Lowry.
Oh man.
Yeah. I'll take a guy that has extensive links experience, has performed well in majors, contended down the stretch in majors, and is getting his game in form. I will play some Shane Lowry this week. I don't know. I really haven't got a ton lower. I actually I don't want to steal his thunder, so I'll leave him because he's a little lower than $7,000. But I've got a couple of guys lower, but that's kind of all that's there. I mean, I will roster some Jimmy Walker this week. He's been playing phenomenal golf, and he has major caliber game. I don't think that his little tiff on Twitter is enough to get him distracted from the big picture. I could be wrong about that, but Jimmy's been playing some phenomenal golf lately, and is clearly over his Lyme disease. Even Kyle Stanley's worth some GPP shares with, it's all ball striking and no putting. Kyle Stanley's been ball striking as well as Grillo has. And there's a great pivot for ownership, in my opinion, as well. Even your boy, Luke List.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm going to actually roster him, but there's cause to.
Yeah. I can't build lineups with him in the field and not have him in it. It's against my religion. So I'll definitely have at least a couple lineups of List, but
I prefer the better List or the better Luke in this field.
All right. So take your weekly 30 seconds. I feel like Lucas Glover plays every fucking week. We have to deal with this shit.
He withdrew last week. Do you imagine the scorn that he received from withdrawing and, not potentially earning money? And I mean, he must've convinced her that he's winning this week in order to secure that withdrawal.
No, I think Matt tweeted this out. He probably went to the bar or something.
Oh, you think he just didn't even tell her that he withdrew and just just grabbed his clubs and his suitcase and went anyway? Oh, you're probably right. I'd do that shit in a heartbeat.
Yeah, he probably just went somewhere, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, to be honest, I don't know how good of a fit Glover is to this course.
Won a major in this part of the country.
Yeah. I know he has some half decent tee to green stats. Other than that, I mean, 6,900 is a very nice price.
Oh my God, Evan, you're apologizing for all of your weeks.
This was not. Yeah,
I was expecting a hype train.
I don't have any strong Glover takes because I'm going to do my thing where I build one lineup, put it in all the big single entry contest or whatever, and he's going to be my one missed cut. And then I'm going to have to come back on here next week and still explain my love for him.
What if he's not, though? What if he's your T15?
Hey, if he's my T15, I'm thanking my Lord and Savior up there because he's the one helping him.
Evan's gonna move out from under that bunk bed if Lucas Glover T15s.
No, if he T15s, the Millie Maker's gonna help me get this thing out of here.
He's gonna have a Miami Vice in his hand on a beach somewhere while us fucking idiots are still recording a podcast.
Yeah, me.
All because of Lucas Glover.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell my girl.
I think Lucas Glover is a pretty good course fit. Just if it's a close to par, if it plays on the really difficult side, I think Lucas Glover, like the harder the golf course, the better it is for Lucas, I think. But again, like if it's just like you guys just said, if it's all ball striking and no putting, Glover's always your guy, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And the guy right below him is sort of like the antithesis of that. If it's, well, I shouldn't say that because if you just can't drive it. But Stricker is the guy that I kind of like again this week. Just never going to miss a fairway, probably not going to miss too many greens, and stick to par and make a few birdies where you can. And 6,900, I think he's a pretty comfortable guy to roster for a made cut. In the last 5 years, he's played the U.S. Open 3 times, made all 3 of his cuts. Playing phenomenal golf right now for who he is and like the level of competition that he's playing at for what is he? I mean, he's given up like 20 some years to most of these guys and he's still out there hanging with them. Pretty impressive stuff. So I'll take a little bit of team old guy this week at 6,900 for a made cut.
It's disappointing that my old guy isn't in the field this week. Could have
Yeah,
really
Joe had a hole in one and like nearly contended.
Dude,
he was a contender, baby. He was a contender.
Crushed the par 3s last week. He had so many 2s last week. It was unbelievable. I was very happy for Stewart. I don't know. Why don't we do like two sub-7 guys and call it a night? What are you thinking, Raj? Any dart throws down here worth your time?
Oh, I mean, dart throw. What about? I love how he misses one cut and suddenly Ben On is just nobody. Like, I mean, this guy pretty much did a number on Muirfield. I mean, it did play easier, but he almost won. And he is persona non grata down here at 6,900. I mean, this guy, if he plays anything like he did at Muirfield, he should at least be a factor. I'm certainly not ready to give up on him after 2 rounds of not so great golf. He's got enough length to handle the course, and if he plays well tee to green, which he did at Muirfield, then I think he's a great play. I have nothing against Ben On. Nothing has changed for me from how he played last week to this week, and suddenly he's gone from 9,200 to 6,900. So I think I like him. Oh man, I'm gonna stick with my homeboy, and I hate it because I don't think he's gonna be a great play, but for the price, Mr. Chucky 3 Sticks, Charles Howell,
Good
down here. I mean,
you have to play him almost at what 6,800,
67, and I mean
67.
I just don't think he's going to miss the cut. Let's just put it that way.
Oh, yeah.
I just don't see it. I mean, and at 6,700, that's worth something in this field. I think it's not necessarily a power position for him. I don't think Charles Howell is a really great grinder in general. We've seen that a lot at basically every major where he has shown up and puts up a T50 or so, and it's never anything spectacular. But I'll take a T40 out of my 6,700 slot this week if I can be pretty sure that it's going to happen, and he always has the possibility to do better than that. So I'd say those two are kind of my guys.
I mean, not only that, like he's the same price as Theo Humphrey. Like
who the fuck that is? I mean,
right? Like some kid from Vandy. Like it's not like it's just very strange. That's I don't know. I could see him in like the 7,200, 7,400, but this is like next to Roberto Castro and fucking Theo Humphrey is a little
really
crazy.
Strange, isn't it? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. What those are my guys. I might have a I mean, Gary Woodland's in the field, so I'll have a lineup with him too.
I was just gonna
Right.
say, bro, there is no way you're not rostering Gary Woodland after he started gaining strokes off the tee last week.
Yeah, this is all Roger. This is all your fault because you made the Gary Woodland thing a thing.
I understand. I mean, and look, I don't think he's the worst play you could possibly have here. He did play okay in Muirfield. It's just the problem with Gary Woodland is that if he misses a green here, it's going to be like watching an infant flail. I mean, there's just no way this guy has the short game to handle this golf course. Yeah, no fucking way.
That part's scary. But I'm willing to take a chance on Gary. My dream is to get a picture or something with him this week. That'll be my thing on Friday. Hopefully he's not packing his bags when I see him Friday afternoon.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, maybe. Make sure he's not smiling when you get the picture too. Maximum impact.
You also got Brendan Steele down here at 6,800. Starting to play some better golf. Putts well on Poa. Good long iron player. Way better than $6,800 in this field. And has a decent U.S. Open track record, if I'm not mistaken. And then the other guy down here is Beef. Sort of a laughable character in a lot of ways, but when it comes to difficult golf courses and big time events, Beef shows up, man. I don't you're not gonna find a lot of stats or anything to support the play, but I bet he makes the cut this week and runs you down just like same thing as Charles or Howell, Chucky 3 Sticks. I bet he runs you a top 40, top 30, something like that. But if it's the tougher it is, the better off Beef has a chance to compete.
Yeah. I like it.
Here's my question: is there there's an NHL ref in this?
Oh, the Canadian guy.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, he's an amateur, isn't he?
Yeah, but he's in the DraftKings pricing this week.
Well, I mean, but are you playing him or
isn't his last name Rank?
Yeah,
I have no idea who he is.
Garrett Rank, I think. Yeah,
I saw something he's priced more than a legitimate good play this week.
Dean Burmeister, $6,000. That's absurd. He's got USO. He's got he's got that bomber long iron type of game. Not nearly as talented, but I didn't even realize he was in the field. $6,000. Got that super talented amateur kid at 6,100. The M guy. The hell's his name? I don't know how to pronounce it. Sung Ye or something.
Yeah.
That's about it. I'm looking all the way down here. I had not even scrolled this far. Lanto Griffin, you got the Star Wars character. He sounds like he should be a character in a Star Wars film. Something. Matthew Southgate is not a bad links player at all. Actually, at 6,400, I didn't realize he was in the field. If you're way down here, Matthew Southgate could absolutely make the cut here at the U.S. Open on this course.
Man, who don't you like?
Orson, Harry Ellis, Scott Gray. I don't necessarily like him. I'm just, listeners.
I
don't know what listeners' minds are at, Wednesday night at midnight when they're like, man, I want to stack DJ and Justin Thomas, and maybe I can get Charles Schwartzel in there. Who do I need to roster? And all of a sudden, man, they're going to think of me, and they're going to think of Matthew Southgate. That's what's happening.
I think Wedge actually did that last year with Matthew Southgate.
Did he really?
I can't remember what course it was at, but there was one particular large event where Matthew Southgate was his dark horse, and the fucking guy came out of nowhere in top 10, and it was just, it was so frustrating. I was like, you fucking prick. How?
I don't really know. I don't know a whole lot about him. I do know that he is a pretty solid links player.
Yeah,
and is more talented than Louis Gangji or Matt Perizel or all these that have qualified.
DK's pricing here in the 6K range is really weird. I mean, it's not going to really affect anything too much, but I mean, there's no way that
tops fives.
There's no way that we should be paying more for Sebastian Munoz and Roberto Castro than for Dean Burmeister. I mean, I don't really understand where how this works, but whatever, man. I mean, it's just strange.
You can get you some old man Kenny Perry at 6,600, bro.
Oh boy.
Yeah, Southgate was 12th at the Open Championship 2 years ago and 6th last year.
There you go, dude.
Fucking ridiculous.
Good links player.
And he top 25 the WGC HSBC in October.
See, look at that. Random scrolling might have got you all a nugget down there.
There you go.
I think the difference that we're going to see between this and a standard links course, though, is that links greens really do not roll very fast.
No,
Like
you're
that
right.
trash POA you see in England and stuff. That stuff can't be rolling faster than maybe like a 10.
Right.
This is going to be running like a 12, 13 based on the way what I saw today, which is, I mean, it's like links on steroids with facades, and I mean it's like Pinehurst number 2. That's the comp I was thinking about when I was looking at some of this. With some of the there's actually, if you go on YouTube, there's a really cool course flyover that gives you actually not only a hole by hole, but then once you get to the actual green, it gives you the topography of every green and where everything runs. And I mean, just some of the wedge shots that these guys are going to have to hit if they miss greens are just not. They're just not friendly. I mean, it's not cool. It's going to be very, very hard. If the winds kick up, I mean, it's game over. It's going to be a fucking nightmare. So
yeah, and it's going to be fun. It's always good to see these guys get a little hot under the collar and a little frustrated, and remind you a little bit of you hacking around on like a Saturday morning with your buddies. So that part of it is nice. Hopefully the wind picks up, because it doesn't look like it's going to get too crazy as of right now. So we'll see.
Yep.
Yeah, right now Windfinder has gusts or steady winds of like 12 to 15 on Thursday with gusts to 20, and then kind of like low sporadic afternoon winds on Friday, and then Saturday is calm, and then like Sunday afternoon could get windy, but that's still like 5 days out. So
Yeah.
a lot of time.
Yeah. Go ahead, Raj.
One thing I'm curious about is how unplayable your shots are going to be if you miss the fairways here.
Very.
Because like Aaron Hill's style, I mean, if you missed it out of the fairway and you got unlucky and you had like a death lie, and that's basically what happened to Dustin Johnson last year, is he hit a few bad drives and it cost him everything. And I'm wondering how much that's going to be the same here with the way those fairways or that rough ends up playing. I mean, because in theory, if you look at like Pinehurst number 2 with all that garbage to the side, we thought that was going to be a death sentence, but really those guys were able to find a way out of that stuff without too much of a problem, because it wasn't like that gnarly ass thick rough. It was just kind of trash. I'm wondering if it's like gorse, or if it's just more kind of just cabbage. I mean, it kind of depends on what that looks like. So I'm hoping my people on the ground will be able to tell me more about how penal that is, because that'll affect whether or not I think you can play some of the longer players that may not have the accuracy of others. But I don't know. It's one of the things I'm definitely looking at this week.
Yeah, makes sense.
Let's talk about the cut, because I think this is a fun little game we can play here. Just give your prediction of what the cut line might be.
Oh, Jesus, yeah.
+3.
Yeah. All right. I'll say 7.
Oh,
+7?
Because here's the thing. In 2004, this place was +6.
You think it's going to play harder than it did in 2004?
I'll say it's about the same.
2004 was a legitimate nightmare that the USGA still hasn't lived down. I doubt seriously they repeat those sins.
I say they do.
They are not known to be the most intelligent group of rich white males. So
I mean, here's the thing. If a phone call can change the outcome of your league, anything can happen. So
I'm gonna go with +3 too. I think that's about right. Yeah, if the winds kick up, move it to 4 or 5.
All right, Matt.
yeah. I'm going a little closer to. I'd say I'd venture to like a +1. I don't think the wind is going to get crazy, and I think that it's going to be because it's 60, right? It's top 60. So
yeah, that's the other thing. It's not top 70 and ties is top 60. So and it's a bigger field than normal. What is it, like 155 or 165 guys teeing it up or something?
Yeah, 156 is full right now.
So it's you got more guys and less making the cut. So like getting a 6-6 through it would be huge this week. I think, because I think most guys are not going to get that.
Yeah, and it only takes like one. It takes like one big missed cut, like somewhere in like
yeah.
Ramen up or Tiger and up range, like
And there
one
will
or two of those, and forget it. Like 6 of 6 is going to be like 2% of lineups.
For if Paul Casey like blows the cut line, that'll be it. He'll be the one. Not I'm just saying, like, he's the one that like would swing like the entire field.
Right, exactly.
But the other thing I think with lineup construction this week, I'm really going to try and stack tee times. I'm not going to like follow the weather a ton, but I am going to make a conscious effort in construction to stack tee times. I'm also going to make a conscious effort in construction to stack skill sets instead of focusing so much on salary tiers. I want to focus more on, if this skill set's going to play well at this course, I want the other golfers in that line of reasoning to be in that lineup.
Yeah.
That's just one of the things I'm sort of focused on this week in my, because I'm probably playing the 20 max $4 and a few milli maker shots, and then a couple of the $44 and see what happens. So, I mean, a little higher exposure, but still not like mass entering like some of these guys are. So I'll have to concentrate.
I forgot to ask, Roger, are you playing the million this year? I'm gonna try my best. Luckily, well, this is the good part. I'm on day 14 of no drinking. So for a diet, not because like I have an issue, but so I don't think I'm gonna hit that like Wednesday, like had one too many beers, like have to build extra lineups thing. So I'm hoping that saves me from making a milli maker lineup, but who knows? So
this is a big week for me. I got a qualifier ticket like a couple months ago for a 50 cent. I turned a 50-cent ticket into a $555 entry on FanDuel
on that blue site.
Yeah, on the blue site. So I have it's a 1 in 600 shot at 100K this week. So I'll be hoping to turn my 50 cents into $100,000. That'd be sweet.
There we go.
Yeah.
Nice.
Good luck to you on that. One and done.
We're done. It's over.
You're not playing that game anymore?
No. I don't have the mental capacity to keep up with it. The one that I'm in, I was running so cold in that I just stopped sending the guy pics, and I have to just tell him, I'm like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
I'm breaking up with one and done. I tried it. I wanted to try it this year, but
yeah,
it's over. I'm sorry.
It's never over, Matt.
All right. Well, good friggin' show. Thanks for coming on, Raj. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Roger.
Sure thing. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. That'll do it for us. This has been the bogey-free podcast for the U.S. Open. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. Make sure to subscribe to the show on YouTube under bogey-free. And, of course, if we're not winning all the money this week, we hope you guys do. So good luck in your contests this week.
Peace.
Awesome.